This is Jonathan Harrison with THB Student News. Late last night in the mouth, there was a blockage of food. The tongue and palates did their best to keep the food in place where the teeth could cut and grind it away, but it just wouldn't go down the esophagus. It was looking bad until the salivary glands came in and softened up the food with a mixture of water, mucus, and salivary amylase. By working together, they were able to get the blockage past the pharynx and down the esophagus. Thanks to all their hard work, the mouth is clear and ready for the morning commute. And now, the weather with John Harrison. John?
Thanks, Jonathan. Over in the stomach today, there's a 100% chance of mucus coating the sides. Food recently moving from the south of the esophagus has made its way to the stomach. As you can see, in the area over here, there are some digestive enzymes forming and hydrochloric acid well on the way. But never fear, the recent mucus downpour will keep the hydrochloric acid from soaking in. 2 or 3 hours later, the southernmost part of the stomach region can expect a buildup of chyme to break through the pyloric valve and into the small intestines. Chyme is lipids, carbohydrates, and proteins that were not changed by pepsin. As the chyme picks up speed through the small intestines, bile moves southwest from the liver through the gallbladder and will enter the small intestines and break up the fat globules into milky emulsion. Moving south through the pancreas into the small intestines, a downpour of digestive enzymes will break down the nutrients in the chyme, preparing it for what will happen next. Now, we go to a special report with Ariel Harrison. Ariel?
Thanks, John. Today we are welcoming our guest speaker, Dr. Johnny Harrison, a local gastroenterologist. He's joining us this morning to tell us what happens to the remains of the food eaten and how it moves through the intestines. But first, Johnny, could you tell us exactly what a gastroenterologist does?
Yes, and thank you for having me here today, Ariel. Basically, a gastroenterologist is someone who studies disorders in the digestive system. There are 2 intestines with 3 parts to the first and 4 parts to the second. The first of the 2 intestines, the small intestines, is split up into the duodenum, the jejunum, and the ileum. These 3 parts use tiny finger-like projections called villi to absorb the nutrients from the chyme and transport them into their circulatory system, thus carrying them throughout the body. The material is moved through the intestines by peristalsis, which are rhythmic muscle movements, much like a wave. The remaining unused material is slowly built up in the 4 parts of the large intestine. The 4 parts of the large intestine includes the ascending colon, the transverse colon, the descending colon, and the sigmoid colon. After enough unused material is built up, it will be expelled through the anus as feces, thus ending the digestive process. Just remember, it all comes out in the end.
Thank you, Dr. Johnny, for your in-depth explanation of the process. And now, Jonathan, back to you.
Before we conclude, we have a special public service announcement. It's almost time to wrap things up, but first, the joke of the day. This joke comes from Jonathan Lee, a student at Shasta High School in Redding, California. A teacher was writing on the board, and he kept hearing an annoying farting sound behind him. Finally, he turned around and said, "Who is making that racket?" All the students answered back, "Ain't us." This is THB Student News, signing off for the day. Join us tomorrow morning when we discuss the end.